20,000 years ago, there was no United States. There was no Atlantic seaboard bustling with cities, no Mississippi River lined with farms, no Rocky Mountains dotted with towns. But there were people already here, or people about to arrive, and their story is the true beginning of American history. Long before Columbus, before Jamestown, before the Mayflower, human beings were making one of the most remarkable journeys our species has ever undertaken, walking, and eventually boating, into a hemisphere no human eye had ever seen. Main narrative. To understand how people first arrived in the Americas, we have to go back to the last ice age, a period when massive glaciers locked up so much of the world's water that sea levels dropped dramatically. This exposed a land bridge, scientists call it, Beringia, connecting present-day Siberia to Alaska. It wasn't a narrow bridge either. At its widest, it stretched nearly 1,000 miles from north to south, a vast, cold, windswept plain of grass and tundra. For decades, the standard story taught in schools was simple. Bands of hunters followed herds of mammoths and other big game across Beringia, then found an ice-free corridor opening up between two massive ice sheets, and walked south into the heart of North America. This became known as the Clovis First theory, named after distinctive stone spear points first discovered near Clovis, New Mexico, dated to about 13,000 years ago. But archaeology rarely stays simple for long. Over the past few decades, discoveries have upended this tidy narrative. At a site called Monte Verde in southern Chile, archaeologists found evidence of human habitation dating back roughly 14,500 years, older than Clovis, and thousands of miles south of the land bridge. If people were already in southern Chile by then, they couldn't have gotten there simply by walking through an ice-free corridor that hadn't fully opened yet. This has led many researchers to favor what's called the coastal migration or Kelp Highway hypothesis. The idea is that early peoples didn't just walk inland. They moved down the Pacific coastline using boats, harvesting the rich marine life of kelp forests, moving rapidly along a coastal ecosystem that stretched from Siberia to South America. Coastlines from that era are now underwater, submerged by rising seas as the glaciers melted, which is part of why direct archaeological evidence is so hard to find. We're essentially looking for footprints on a shoreline that no longer exists. Genetic evidence adds another layer to the story. Studies of DNA from ancient and modern indigenous populations suggest that the ancestors of Native Americans split from Siberian populations tens of thousands of years ago, then spent a significant period, and some researchers call it the Beringian Standstill, isolated on or near the land bridge itself before finally pushing into the Americas. In other words, the migration wasn't necessarily a quick dash.